Thanks. It's nice to be back here. I work for a company now, Apple, and people ask, what's the main difference between working for Apple and working at Stanford? And I didn't really realize it until this occasion. The main difference is that when you have 5 minutes to present, you present for 5 minutes. That's actually what I just said is total bullshit. But it seemed like a good place to start anyway. So, but it is a pleasure to be back here with Tomer and say a few words about his excellent dissertation. And there won't be anything about causal inference.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. It'll be a blessing. So, so before getting to the dissertation, though, just a little bit about Tomer's a student on the runway to the dissertation. So Tomer is one of those students who really helps to make the Ph.D. program here such a fantastic human and intellectual community. Great to have in courses, a regular and passionately, enthusiastically engaged participant in the political theory workshop, a fantastic teacher. The one thing that teaching opportunity that I think you missed was that you could have explained to Azusa how to get more quickly to the lack of deference about the views of scholars in the field. So Tomer's dissertation is really icing on a cake that was already not so shabby as a PhD student. So the dissertation, unlike the other dissertations you've heard about, Tomer's dissertation is in political theory, and it brings together into a mutually illuminating conversation literature from democratic theory, particularly ideas about deliberative democracy, and ideas from literature about global justice. Now, this might seem like an improbable democracy, global politics, like that's an improbable marriage, or maybe a marriage that only a theorist could love, because what relationship at all is there between democracy and global politics? But it's that's what happens in political theory. You're concerned with normatively compelling possibilities, not with probabilities. And that's what the thesis explores. So where does it go? On the democracy side, he embraces a conception of deliberative democracy, the idea that democracy is a kind of reasoning among equals about matters of common concern. And what's the point of deliberative democracy? The point of this deliberative democratic enterprise? Well, the point is that democracy of that kind is intrinsically important. It is a matter of, as he describes it, procedural justice. I mean, maybe it produces some good results too, but quite apart from the question about the results that it produces, it has an intrinsic importance. And what's the connection of that with global justice? Well, much of the literature on global justice over the past 2 decades has, for very understandable reasons, focused on issues about fair distribution, or at least ensuring some basic decency in the distribution of the benefits of life. And Tomer, in his dissertation, focuses instead on issues about global politics, on arenas of consequential collective decision-making beyond the level of the state, both areas where there already is consequential decision-making and areas where there's likely to be such. And the idea is that if the central idea, I guess, in the thesis is that if democracy really is a requirement of procedural justice, and you have these procedures of making consequential collective decisions at the level of global politics, then democracy has a grip on how those procedures ought to operate. Well, what exactly is the grip that it has? What kinds of democratic standards make sense at these levels of collective decision making? And that's a complicated story. This is how I'll try to stay within the limits of time.
You never do.
No, I know. I said I was lying. I said I was lying. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you. how that works. It's what the last chapter of the thesis is about, and it explores in particular the idea, this democratic idea, that everyone who's affected by decisions ought to have some say in how the decisions are made. Well, what kind of say? Equal say? Everybody has equal say? No, that wouldn't make any sense at all. And what exactly then? Well, read the last chapter and you'll find out. That's what the last chapter explores creatively and with a great mix of intellectual acuity and good sense. And not just intellectual acuity and good sense, but those wrapped together with a unifying humanism and moral universalism brought to bear on aspects of political life from which those are a conspicuous absence. So, congratulations. Godspeed on your